Okay, so let's jump into this deep dive today.
Sounds good.
It's a really fascinating topic,
Yeah.
relationships and money.
Oh, yeah,
Always a good recipe for a deep dive.
for sure.
And we've got this great article from The Guardian,
Mm-hmm.
and they're asking people straight up, are finances shared in your relationship?
Right.
And if not, why not?
Interesting.
And it seems like that traditional picture we have,
Yeah.
couples just automatically merging everything,
Right. Especially after marriage.
especially after marriage. Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be shifting.
That's a really interesting observation right off the bat.
Yeah.
Even when couples are living together or sharing, other big things,
Mm-hmm.
cars, houses,
Yeah.
joint bank accounts, they're not a given anymore.
Interesting.
It really makes you wonder, what's going on.
Yeah.
Is it just, people changing their minds about it? Or is
Right.
there something deeper
Yeah.
that's making couples rethink this whole, fully combined approach?
Yeah.
Especially like the article mentions with the cost of living going up.
Yeah. It's tough out there.
It puts a strain on relationships, right?
Definitely.
So could separate finances be like a way to give people a bit more stability when everything else feels shaky?
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
Like these little individual financial silos
Exactly.
within the relationship, almost like a protection.
Yeah, like a buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Against all that outside pressure.
Yeah.
And the article brings up some other really important things too,
Yeah.
like societal factors,
Of course.
that play into this.
Big time.
Specifically the gender pay gap,
Yeah.
which unfortunately is still very real,
Still a problem.
and the gender pension gap too.
Right.
And the article highlights how many women have had to leave work or cut back their hours
Right.
because of childcare responsibilities.
In recent years, yeah.
Yeah, it's been really tough.
Absolutely.
So all of this makes the whole money thing in relationships even more complicated.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just about, splitting the takeout bill anymore.
No, not at all.
Right.
It's like if you connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
these societal inequalities, they can really create power dynamics in a relationship,
Right.
even if no one's doing it on purpose.
Exactly.
So let's say one partner earns way less
Mm-hmm.
because of all these external factors.
Yeah.
How does that affect decisions about expenses
Yeah.
or long-term financial planning?
Right.
Does keeping things separate give someone a sense of independence?
Right.
Or could it make things even more unequal?
That's what we're going to try to figure out in this deep dive.
Exactly.
We want to understand, all the different ways.
Yeah.
Couples are managing money these days.
Right.
Why are they choosing what they're choosing?
Mm-hmm.
And is it causing any problems?
Because you wanted a quick overview.
Just a quick but thorough look
Thorough.
at this whole evolving landscape.
Exact.
And that's what we're going to do. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The article highlights this shift away from the traditional way,
Right.
but it also emphasizes that what matters is what works
Yeah, what works for each couple,
for each couple. Yeah.
right? Like the article serves as a jumping off point,
Yeah.
It points out that merging finances, at least after marriage,
Mm-hmm.
used to be more the norm,
Right.
but it clearly says that today a lot of couples don't do that.
Interesting.
So it makes us think about why things have changed.
Yeah.
What are couples talking about
Right.
that leads them to make different financial choices than their parents or grandparents?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, the article touches on some key things right away.
Okay.
It mentions how important it is to have a mutual agreement
Yeah.
about finances that both people are happy with.
Both parties, yeah.
So it sounds like maybe the focus is shifting, toward individual comfort
Right.
and what works best for each couple
Makes sense.
instead of just doing what's always been done. That makes you think,
Yeah,
is it that people are more financially savvy now?
possibly.
Or maybe they just value individual autonomy more in their relationships?
That's an important point.
Yeah.
This emphasis on mutual agreement,
Mm-hmm.
it suggests a more deliberate approach.
Right. More communication about money.
Definitely.
It's not just assumed anymore.
Right.
It's something you got to talk about and decide on.
Yeah.
So what do you think leads to these more open conversations about money?
That's a great question.
Is it just, society changing?
Could be.
Or are people just recognizing that being financially compatible
Yeah.
is just as important as anything else in a relationship?
That's an interesting thought.
And let's not forget about the rising cost of living.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It really throws a wrench into things.
Absolutely.
As the article says, lots of couples are saying financial pressures
Yeah.
are putting a strain on their relationships
It's so tough.
when money's tight.
Yeah.
how you manage it together.
Or separately.
Or separately.
Becomes a really big deal.
For sure.
So do you think in some cases separate finances are a way to protect yourself from those individual anxieties?
Like contain them. Yeah.
And keep them from overwhelming the whole partnership.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because financial stress
Right.
can make things so much worse.
It can bring up old arguments.
Yeah.
Or even start new ones.
Exactly.
So the way a couple handles their money
Right.
might be a way to try and lessen that potential stress.
That makes sense.
For some, keeping things separate
Yeah.
might feel like a way to stay in control
Yeah.
and reduce the chances of fighting about spending habits.
Right. You can imagine one person's a super careful budgeter
Yeah,
and the other one's more spontaneous.
totally.
Separate accounts could help keep the peace.
Definitely less friction.
Makes sense if you have different spending styles.
Yeah.
Or different financial goals.
Right.
Keeping some of that autonomy
Yeah.
might just feel safer. For sure.
But then on the other hand,
yeah.
doesn't having completely shared finances
Mm-hmm.
often show a deeper commitment?
Yeah.
Like you're really in this together.
Right. Shared goals.
Shared goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
If everything's pooled together,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're saying we're building this life together.
That's the traditional view for sure. And for a lot of couples, it's still true.
Yeah.
It definitely makes paying bills easier.
Right.
Saving for things like a house or kids.
Hmm.
It creates that sense of we-ness.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that the article suggests
Yeah.
that this might not be the only way to build a strong relationship anymore.
Right.
Maybe couples are finding other ways to show commitment and work towards shared goals
Yeah.
that aren't just about a joint bank account.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And we can't ignore those societal factors the article brings up.
Right. They're huge.
The gender pay gap, where women are still earning less than men,
On average, yeah.
and the gender pension gap, too.
Yeah. Big economic realities. It's huge.
And then you add in the fact that so many women have had to leave work
Right.
or reduce their hours because of childcare.
Millions of women.
Millions, yeah, like the article says.
So how do these disparities play out?
Yeah.
We're talking about shared versus separate finances.
That's the question.
It's a big one.
It's a big one because all of that,
Yeah.
it really affects a woman's financial independence
Mm-hmm.
and how much she can earn,
Right now and in the future.
both now and in the future. Yeah,
So whether or not to share finances
right.
becomes even more complicated.
So much more complex.
Is it about being fair?
Right? Is it
That-
about recognizing
Right.
that maybe contributions aren't always going to be equal
Yeah.
because of these bigger societal issues?
It's a tough one.
And could
Yeah.
keeping finances separate
Yeah.
actually end up hurting the partner
Right.
who's already facing economic challenges?
Because of these systemic problems.
And because of these systemic problems,
Yeah,
exactly,
it really shows how these personal financial decisions,
are tied to these much larger
yeah,
economic and social forces.
it's all connected.
It's not just about what you personally prefer.
right.
It's about navigating a system that isn't always fair.
Exactly.
So it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
are couples really thinking about these bigger issues
Mm-hmm.
when they decide how to handle their money?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
So as couples trying to deal with all of this,
Right.
they might be looking for financial arrangements
Yeah.
that feel fair and supportive,
Yeah.
whether that means merging everything or keeping things separate.
Right.
And the key takeaway from the article's introduction
Yeah.
seems to be that there's no one right answer anymore.
No magic formula.
No magic formula.
Yeah.
The most important thing
Yeah.
seems to be finding a system that both partners really agree on
Yeah.
and feel comfortable with,
Mm,
given their own situation
Right.
and the bigger economic picture.
exactly. And the article asks people to share their experiences,
Mm.
which really underscores that point.
Right.
They want to hear about all the different approaches,
Yeah.
fully shared, partially shared, totally separate,
Mm.
and how they're working out.
Yeah. What's working, what's not working.
It suggests that there's a lot of variety
Yeah.
in how modern relationships are dealing with this.
Right. This fundamental part of being together.
A big one.
Yeah.
And importantly,
Yeah.
they want to know the why behind these decisions.
So why? Yeah.
Like what made a couple choose a particular way of doing things?
Exactly.
Was it past experiences,
Slippy.
different philosophies about money,
Yeah.
practical stuff like income or debt?
Right.
Understanding those motivations
Yeah.
give us a much clearer picture of this
Excellent.
whole trend.
And maybe the most important question
Yeah.
is whether money is causing conflict in the relationship.
Right, because even if you have a system,
Yeah.
if one or both people aren't happy with it,
Right.
that's a recipe for trouble.
Big time.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Your financial arrangement should help your relationship.
It should help, not hurt.
Not hurt it, exactly.
So it's like a test, you know?
Yeah.
Does the way you handle money, no matter what it is, make your relationship better and more stable?
Right.
Or does it create resentment and arguments?
That's the key.
The article's starting a really important conversation about how money and relationships are changing.
Yeah.
It's like a signal that the old ways of doing things are being questioned.
Yeah.
And couples are finding new ways to handle their finances together.
Right.
Often by putting open communication and individual needs ahead of traditional expectations.
Exactly. So as we've seen in this deep dive, there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Not at all.
When it comes to how couples manage their money,
No.
the article in The Guardian really got us thinking.
Yeah, it did.
About all the different approaches out there, from completely shared to completely separate.
And everything in between.
And everything in between.
Yeah.
And we talked about how things like the rising cost of living and issues like the gender pay gap can really influence those decisions.
Absolutely. They're a big factor.
And what's really interesting is that it seems like the key thing, no matter what system a couple chooses, is open communication.
Absolutely.
And being on the same page.
Mutual agreement. Yeah.
The article really stresses how important it is.
It does.
For both partners to be happy with the arrangement.
Especially because money problems can really hurt a relationship.
Exactly.
It's like the article saying the how might not be as important as the why.
The why.
Yeah, and making sure both people understand.
Understand each other.
Understand each other, yeah.
So here's a question for you to think about. As society's ideas about relationships and money keep changing, what do these different approaches to managing money? Tell us about things like independence, trusts, and even what we really means.
That's a good one.
It's something to ponder.
For sure.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
It was a good one.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
You.
See.